The whole point of life is that you have to figure it out for yourself by making mistakes. And that's what us humans are doing as we're building our societies, as we're constructing our food menus at restaurants, as we're filling and stocking our grocery stores. We're figuring it out on our own. That's what makes life meaningful and interesting and worthwhile, because it's from that you get growth. If God solved all of our problems, we wouldn't even need to be alive. You see? So the highest good is not for God to stock your grocery store shelves with perfect organic food. The highest good is for us to recognize that we should correct ourselves and do it for ourselves. Don't ask God to stock the grocery store with the best food. Do it yourself. Do it as a society. Let's do it if we really care about it. And if we don't care about it, then why are we complaining? What is there to complain about? You see, the vast majority of mankind's problems are self-created. And the way that mankind evolves, the way society evolves, the way culture evolves is by making these sorts of mistakes and learning from our mistakes. This is the whole purpose of life, is to exercise one's consciousness and to realize that it's insufficient. Selfish consciousness, needy, attached consciousness is insufficient. To live the best life. And by becoming conscious of that, that is what gets you to surrender your selfishness and to evolve and to grow until eventually you surrender enough of your selfishness that you literally become God. You see, that's the highest good. And you cannot become God by being forced into it. You can only become God by accepting yourself as God. You might say, Leo, why did God make it so difficult to become God? Why couldn't it just be like, I snap my fingers and I become God? Wouldn't that be nicer? Wouldn't that be a better world to live in? No, because the whole point of it is that you have to go through this whole ordeal to realize the limitations of selfishness. That's what all of life is about. Life is just a simulation to show you that if you're going to be selfish and attached and needy and biased and untruthful and manipulative, then you're going to live such a shitty life and you're going to suffer for it. So either do that or wise up and stop being so fucking selfish. And then, ta-da, life goes great. But you see, selfishness cannot be removed from you by force. You have to be allowed to relinquish your own selfishness of your own free will. Because you see, at the highest level, infinite will is identical with goodness and with love. Goodness and love have to be willed. They can't be forced upon you. Because at the highest level, there's nothing that can force God. God has to will to be love. God has to will to be good. Nobody, because at the highest level, there's nobody other than God to force it to be anything that it doesn't want to be. So it has to want it. So for you to become God, you have to want it. You have to want to love. But how can you want to love if you're so fucking selfish and afraid and attached and biased and manipulative and untruthful? You can't love when you're untruthful because love is truth. So all the shit that's happening is our own creation. If you don't like it, stop creating it. Start taking responsibility for how you're creating your life, for what you're willing into your life with the limited will that you do have. Start taking responsibility for how you define yourself. Most people don't take responsibility for how they define themselves as a human. They offload that responsibility onto science or biology or onto religion. When you say, oh, Leo, but science tells me I'm a human, that's you offloading your responsibility of self-definition onto some stupid human called a scientist, who for whatever reason you have turned into your pope. The pope of materialism. See, you can't awaken to your own God self when you are offloading your sovereignty and authority onto other people or organizations or institutions or culture.